Whoa, we're back for some Bleach Soul Resonance, and this video is being made on the tail of my last one, but I wanted to go over the small things I've done for Kenpachi since pulling him. First and foremost, he is at 26,660 power. This is from being level 100, as well as having access to his weapon, which is currently maxed at level 100. You can see it up here. And his stamp, which I just recently pushed to level 30. The reason I'm doing this is because I know that Kenpachi's gear is going to be a bit of a grind, and because of that, I don't really want to invest a lot of materials on his gear, on like trash gear. So I'd rather just get the raw stats and not have to worry about gear until I'm actually like going through the motions and gearing him, right? I hope that makes sense, but it made a lot more sense to me to continue to focus on the static stats, the things like his skills, the things like his stamp, the thing like his weapon and his level, rather than try to push for levels and stats on gear that just aren't there yet. We're going to have to wait for that because gear is much more of a grind, obviously. Right now I'm going to be using the bond effect for crit chance, though this might change throughout the time using him. I really don't have much of an expectation yet. But yes, that is where Kenpachi is right now. And we're going to move on to the talk about Kenpachi and should you pull, should you pass. It seems like Kenpachi is a pretty easy skip if you're not like a big Kenpachi fan, right? If you're like, maybe like say you're a waifu guy, you know, you like women in anime, you like when cool girls are sort of the centerpiece, then Kenpachi's probably not really the character for you because he's this big brute man, right? That's, you know, the juxtaposition makes sense. You probably, if you're really into one thing, you're probably not like the biggest fan of the other. Or you're like me and you just like when characters are cool. And so if the woman is cool, then you like her too. But, you know, a lot of people, they're more focused in what they're into. But here we have what I assume is Giku under the Bleach Soul Resonance guide and news account. You know, follow the boy if you haven't, though this could be someone else. Saying get B2 with A5 if you want a really strong Kenpachi with minimal investment. Let's switch back over just briefly. B2, A5. I don't think the weapon is going to be a reasonable goal for a lot of people. So we're instead going to talk about his B2. His B1, spiritual pressure gained from releasing special attacks is increased by 100%, and the damage dealt by special attacks is increased by 50%. Obviously, Kenpachi has quite a bit of special attack, you know, procs going on in his kit. But here we have the real one. The name of Kenpachi. For every 1% of ailment damage, Kenpachi has his crit rate increased by 0.5 rather, up to 30%, which means you need 60% ailment damage, I believe, to get this fully, you know, capped out. That said, that is not a hard thing to get, because obviously, like, ailment damage is something sort of desired, especially if you want to move something into like this, right? But, you know, I think ailment damage ends up being sort of a dump stat on a lot of pieces of gear, but I do think that it ends up being a stat that increases quite a bit, pretty substantially. Like 38% here from having 3 in means that all that would really need to happen is 2 pieces of gear, maybe 3 pieces of gear, need just a little bit of ailment damage bonus to get that completed. But, you know, I don't think it's the hardest thing in the world, but yeah. And it would go up to a maximum of 30%. The reason Kenpachi needs access to this is because he has no crit on his weapon or his stamp. A lot of the characters we talk about tend to have crit somewhere baked into them. It seems like they moved Kenpachi off of being free with his to needing to, you know, proc something. Which is tough both for his gearing and for his actual like boundaries. What I'm sorry, and I guess we'll read the rest of what I'm talking about here before we do that. But so Kenpachi at B6, A5, A5 is the strongest limited assault character. This is specific because Kenpachi can't be better than Aizen. Nothing is going to be better than Aizen until another like crazy support comes out, probably. I said this before. Assault characters, DPS characters will always be the most replaceable. They will always be the most replaceable. You can always get another damage character. You cannot always get another Aizen. Aizen is not a character that's going to come out over and over and over and over. This should be obvious. Bake this into your head. If you're ever wondering, should I go all in on this DPS, remember that the character that's going to matter the most is Aizen, is Yudahara, is, you know, maybe Nell if she ends up being a support when she comes out, etc. You know, Mayuri if he ends up being a support or tax character. It's going to be the supports that decide how good these teams are, which is why I've sort of been on this crusade saying it sucks that Grimmjow got pushed back, but I will say that the thing that Strike needs more than anything is an Aizen support, is a Yudahara support, not so much another DPS, because Yoruichi is very good. So, stronger than B6, A5, A5, Toshido, and Gin. B0 is the weakest among all limited characters. B1 is one of the weakest. B2 is one of the stronger ones, but you need a good build. And B4 is the second worst. Bichigo is the worst. So, this means that if you are a free-to-play player, and you so desire it, you could technically have a very strong character going into, you know, just 2 points of, you know, two dupes. This might be something, and this is why I'm making this video, this might be something I aspire to, because I like Kenpachi. I would not suggest this for others. I would not say that you should make this move, but combined with the fact that we sort of have a rough idea of who could be coming out in the future, we sort of can fall on, well, if you don't want someone like Grimmjow, because maybe you have a Yoruichi like mine, which is, you know, has quite a bit of investment in it. I ended up getting this, but we also need to talk about sort of the elephant in the room, which is something I talked about before, which is I have a full guarantee summon on my standard banner from just saving these tickets. People said, well, we don't know what they're going to do with the standard banner. Eventually, these characters have to come back, and I think eventually this standard banner has to change. Maybe it'll be when Ukiera comes over with like half anniversary. Maybe it'll be at full anniversary. But the reason I'm saving my standard tickets is because characters like Kenpachi might end up on this banner eventually. For now, what do I plan on doing with my Jade? I think that I could be convinced to pull on this Kenpachi more, just because I love Kenpachi. He's the coolest character to me. I would not say that I would recommend this. I do not ever recommend pulling for dupes in gacha games, just because if you're free to play or low spending, the benefit you get usually doesn't erase the months of saving you need to do to sort of rectify that. However, I made a video yesterday, and some of you probably watched it. I don't know. I'm making this video right after. Some of you might have watched it, saying that gear is the brick wall for this game. And this is a good or bad thing. It's a good thing because it means that if you want to pull for dupes, it's actually more manageable in this game than it is in other games like Dokkan. Dokkan, I will never pull for a dupe in Dokkan. I either get it luckily or I get a dupe when they return on a new banner. But I will never, ever, ever pull for a dupe in Dokkan, because that is how bad the free-to-play system is for dupes and players. In this game, if you skip 1 or 2 characters, you could arguably dupe the character you want to dupe, right? That is an actual thing. I have 8,699 Jade left. I could at least squeeze 1 or more dupes out of this character's events. By the time we get to the end, I could have a dupe to, you know, Kenpachi. This is a fact. I could have that alongside his weapon, though I would not be able to dupe his weapon, obviously. But I could have, you know, the things I'm talking about now, which are his actual boundary, right? But it would require me to make the decision that I am not going to pull for Grimmjow, and I probably wouldn't be pulling until at least Nell or Mayuri showed up. The thing about Nell showing up is we suspect that she will be a support. To what end will she be able to best someone like Yudahara, though? Can she make a case for herself being better than this character who already gives such very powerful generic support? That's hard to say. We don't know. We will never know until she comes out. That is just point blank, period. That is point blank, period. We won't know. It is our expectation that she will be better than Yudahara just because of power creep, but Yudahara is also just a completely broken character for them to have put in the game base. Yorahara is probably a bit of a mistake, so we won't know. But yeah, I wanted to say that that's where my account is. That's where I've sort of landed. I don't regret pulling for Kenpachi or anything. This is the type of character that even if they said, like, if at Dupe 6 Kenpachi is the worst unit in the game, I would have been like, okay, cool, he's Kenpachi. That's my GOAT. You know, this is one of those ones that just has to be like, you do it because that's your bias, not so much because that's the smartest thing to do as a free-to-play player. I do expect that if people make enough of a fuss, he will receive some sort of change. I just think that's just how these games work. They want to incentivize people pulling for characters. They don't want people to be disincentivized for pulling for characters. So making Kenpachi feel like an easy skip is not what gacha games are intending to do. You know, the reveal of Kenpachi is meant to push Bankai Ichigo out of his place. So I do expect this character to receive something by the end. But yes, I don't want to continue to belabor this point, but yeah. So that's Kenpachi. That's what I'm working on right now. I don't have a ton of stamina, as you can see here, so I will be continuing to work. I don't have any con left, man. I'll be continuing to work on the things that are the easiest to acquire. This being his flat stats, like skills. Again, weapon is done, core stamp is done, but skills will be next, and then I will begin the stamp grind. Until then, I'll probably just move some trash gear onto him. I was thinking of maybe stripping down, like, you know, Ikaku's gear, because I'm literally just not using it. And even though it increases thrust damage, it's still a special attack set. So I might end up just doing something like this for a while, because I'm literally not using Ikaku. Ikaku is not a character I am using. I might end up just doing this for a while, just until I get him up and able, and that way he actually has stats that are, you know, he's already a 50% crit, so voila. That way he has actual stats that are, you know, contributing to something while I test him out. So do not take this as this is what the set you want on him. This is obviously not the set you want on him, but yeah, that we'll be using that as a placeholder for now. But yeah, Kenpachi, my GOAT. I will probably be pulling for you a bit more. I'm going to wait until I stockpile the Jade a little bit. That way I have a little bit more of like a summon session. So we'll just be rocking him pretty low key until then. But we will probably see another summoning session for Kenpachi, hopefully to get him B2'd. And then, yeah, probably missing out on our Grimmjow for now, because I don't know. There hasn't been much content that my Yoruichi plus 2 supports can't clear. So yeah, like you like the video, subscribe to the club. We all go make it, and peace.